Good afternoon and welcome to another social studies lesson. Today, we will be looking at the coming of the Africans, the involuntary immigrants. Those words deliberately used to highlight the fact that this group came here, or this group, and they were brought here not of their own free will, but they were forcibly taken from their homeland and brought to the Caribbean, to the New World, to work on sugar plantations. As in previous lessons, you'll have noticed by now, we need to establish the location of the group in terms of where the group is coming from, why the group came to the region, and contributions made by the group to the culture of Jamaica. Same pattern in this lesson. So let us begin with where they were taken from. A little bit of map work for you here. By now, I'm sure you guys would have known that the Africans came from the continent of Africa, this supercontinent right here. However, we need to be a bit more specific and state where exactly in Africa they were taken from. This little part here, maybe a bit bigger, most Africans, or the Africans that came to the Caribbean to work, were taken from West Africa. Countries in West Africa today include Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and others. Just to recap, we already know that the Africans came from Africa. However, if we want to be a bit more specific, they were taken from West Africa. Now, why were the Africans taken to Jamaica? There is a term that historians use. The term is the sugar revolution. The word revolution itself means a change from something to something. So the sugar revolution, well, basically it was a change from the production of tobacco to the production of sugar on a large scale. This change happened due to a number of reasons. To your right here, as in the previous lesson, you would have known which group would have been responsible for bringing all the pastries and the tea drinking to Jamaica. Yes, the British. But there was a change in lifestyle in England, across Europe. Many persons started to drink tea. Pastries were becoming a bit more common. And guess what? Was used as a sweetener. Sugar. So there was a demand for sugar right across Europe. For you to grow sugar, or sugarcane rather, and to be profitable, what do you really need? A cheap, reliable supply of labor. You may want to ask yourself, what happened to the Tainos? You should know better, because we know the Spaniards basically committed genocide in terms of getting rid of or killing the Tainos, maybe from overwork, diseases. So basically, little or no Tainos left in Jamaica to work on these plantations. So the Europeans went to Africa. Just to recap again, just to make sure you're following, they came from West Africa. In Africa, they were brought here. Why? There was an increase in the demand for sugar. So hence, Europeans needed a cheap, reliable supply of labor. And sadly, Africans provided just that. How did they get here now? Not by plane, not by trains, not by horses either. Your guess is as good as mine. These people, they were captured from their villages. Please pay attention to this join right here. Notice that the raiders here are not white. Europeans did not capture Africans. Africans captured Africans. As you can see here, a coffle was used to hold several persons together. They were chained for most of the journey. Just imagine the huge continent of Africa, where these people had to walk for miles and miles and miles. What do you think happened to many of them? Many of them died along the way. Heat, exhaustion. The journey was just too much. So many of them died, or the ones who were about to die, they would leave them for them to perish. Yeah. Upon arriving at the coast now, they were checked. They checked their teeth. They checked for gray hair. Gray hair would be like a sign of age, even though we know you have young persons with gray hair, but generally speaking, it's a sign of age. Bad teeth for poor health. The ones who were deemed fit, they were branded. Just imagine a hot iron being placed on your skin. Yeah, so they were branded. The rejected ones called macrons, not needed for the journey. See, being branded there. And then they were placed in what we call a barracoon, like a little house, and they would wait here until the slave ships arrived. Well, you know, the spirit of a human being. No human was born in chains, none. So a human will always desire to be free, and I'm guessing those that you see here would have been ones who tried to escape, just to run away. They were scared. Who wouldn't be? Been taken from your village in the middle of the night, dragged across unknown lands, brought to a place. Please note, many of them, they have never seen the sea in their entire lives. Yes. Pay keen attention now, because this is where it gets a bit interesting and sad, of course. On board a slave ship, that's after they left the African coast, you can just see that they were packed close like sardines in a tin. Just imagine the same place where they slept was the same place where they passed their bodily functions, the same place where everything was done basically. Bedroom, bathroom, kitchen in the same area for the entire length of the journey. Yes, they'll be brought up every now and then to exercise and a few jump overboard. Who can blame them? But it's for, generally speaking, conditions aboard a ship. I mean, it was inhumane, not fit for any human being. Poor conditions, poor ventilation, and many, of course, died. The name that historians use to describe this entire leg or this entire journey, they call it the they call it the triangular trade, or some people may call it the transatlantic slave trade. Started here. Which continent is this right here? In green. Yes, correct, Europe. Ships would be packed with manufactured goods. Then the journey would be made to West Africa, where these manufactured goods would be traded for the slaves. Not gold or any precious minerals, manufactured goods like guns, knives, and those stuff. Yes. Well, the next leg would be from West Africa to the New World. And I keep saying New World because slaves were not just taken to Jamaica or to Trinidad, but they were taken to United States, here the southern part, and a lot of them were taken to Brazil, highlighted here in blue. The Middle Passage would have been the first leg, and I described it a while ago. Well, I summarized it. I cannot go into all the details of the Middle Passage. That's a lesson by itself, and it is extremely graphic in terms of what happened to the Africans on board a slave ship. The ships now, after selling the captured Africans in the Caribbean, they would then set sail right back to Europe with the byproducts of sugar cane, such as sugar, rum, and molasses. And by now, you notice the shape is a triangle, hence the name, the triangular trade, or the transatlantic slave trade, meaning it took place across the Atlantic Ocean. Following so far? I am 100% sure that you are. Did you know that the Africans were brought to the Caribbean from as early as 1513 by the Spanish? However, not in large numbers. The British were the ones who brought these people here in large numbers. Good? Now we want to know the activities done by the enslaved Africans in Jamaica and in the Caribbean. You guessed it, many of them worked in the sun for long hours all their lives. Sickness and pain, rain or shine. This group was what we call the field slaves because they work in the field. Another group of slaves that we know, this group worked in the house, in the households or the great houses. They were called the domestic slaves. And as you can guess, they would wash and cook and clean, among other activities. Another group existed, the artisans or the skilled slaves, but the two main groups would have been the field slaves and the domestic slaves. That big word there, emancipation, big word. Do you know the meaning of the word emancipation? Yes, you're correct, full freedom. However, at times we tend to mix up two dates. Pay attention. We tend to mix up this date here and this date right here. Let us clarify and make sure that we never ever make that mistake. Abolition happened in 1834. Abolition was not full freedom because in 1834, a system of apprenticeship started where they had to work for 40.5 hours free per week. Still slavery. Yeah. However, full freedom came in 1838. Jubilee. Don't forget that. Abolition 1834, not fully freed. Emancipation 1838, full freedom. And I'm sure you know the exact date for emancipation because every single year in Jamaica, we celebrate Emancipation Day on August 1st. Yes. So we have those two dates and two events that have been cleared up, right? Yes. Now, Africa suffered significantly and the descendants, and her descendants rather. However, Europe benefited greatly from slavery. I could go into an entire lesson and talk about how the proceeds or the profits from slavery fueled the Industrial Revolution, which is why Britain is what it is today. But just to sum it up, slavery made Europe richer as all the profits went right back to Europe. The Africans, due to the fact that they would have been here, we have been here for hundreds of years, contributions would have been made by this group to the Jamaican culture. Let us start with my favorite, food. The food in your picture right here, I am not sure how many of you guys know that. It is called dukuno, Thai leaf, or some may call it blue jars. This is a very delicious meal that can be had, and it's a direct contribution of the Africans. Another contribution made by the Africans is dip and fall back. Some people call it mackerel rundown. Maybe had it for breakfast on Sunday. Who knows? Contribution of the Africans. Also, surprise, surprise, stamp and go, what we call saltfish fritters, Africans. More contribution in terms of food. However, I am highlighting the ones that I am sure you guys would have been exposed to. Africans, Africans are known for their jovial nature. So dance like Brookings and more popular one would be that one. Guess the dance. Let me give you some examples of characters. Pitchy Patchy, the most flamboyant one. The king, queen, devil, horsehead. Yep, John Kuno. Done at Christmas time, still in Jamaica. I think I saw John Kuno dancers last year. Contributions of the Africans there, Brookings and the John Kuno. Every single Jamaican, I am 100% sure, would have heard of this trickster spider, which we call Brother Anansi. Brother Anansi and the pot of beans, Brother Anansi and Brother Cow, Brother Anansi and Brother Horse, a million stories. Yep, a direct contribution of the Africans storytelling in terms of the trickster spider, Anansi. Yeah, more contributions, the braiding, well, not mine, the braiding of the hair, African contribution. And shame on, well, I won't call shame on myself as yet, but shame on me. How could I have not mentioned the language? Miss Lou would have been so disappointed in me. The Jamaican dialects would have been a direct result of the Africans twisting and bending the European languages along with African languages, words like Nyaman, Sensei, African words. So just to recap the lesson, we know where they came from. Need not repeat that. Why they were taken here. Remember the sugar revolution, need for sugar. Sugarcane needed to be grown on a large scale, hence a lot of workers needed. Africans, cheap, reliable supply of labor, boom. Contributions, food, dance, language, religion, and a host of other contributions. I thank you for joining in. I will see you guys next time. Have a great one.